We have Marco Santos with us this evening. Marco is the owner of Aiyanar Beach and Dive Resort in Anilao in the Philippines. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the Philippines, especially for divers. And we wanted to share with you this special place this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Marco. Welcome, Marco.
Hi guys, good evening. It's actually 8 in the morning here, so we're on opposite sides of the spectrum. Is everyone doing all right? Anyway, I'm Marco Santos and I'm from the Philippines, and I've been a dive professional for almost 12 years, so I can also be a good source of information for any travel plans you may have even outside of Anilao. But anyway, today we're talking about Anilao and of course Aiyanar Resort. Anilao, I like to say, and I like to tell everyone, is probably the gateway to Philippine diving. The reason being is that it is only an hour, 2 hours and a half from Manila. And of course, most of you, your first stop is going to be Manila. So let me give you a short history on Anilao. Anilao has always been a locals dive haven. So if you know any people from Manila, they probably have learned to dive in Anilao. Most of us did our checkouts in Anilao. I did mine in 1992. I was at that tender age of 11 years old. It used to be used mostly for courses and used to have only backpacker style resorts. If you see Anilao today, we have good roads, we have electricity. That wasn't always the case. Back in the day, we needed four-wheel drives to get to the resorts, and the roads were in really bad shape. And it used to only be a weekend market, and very little foreigners used to come. There are quite a few of note. People like Lynn Funkhauser and other older Americans have been diving the area since the 70s. But aside from them, there was really nothing going on in terms of dive travel to Anilao. But present day Anilao is probably the fastest macro photography destination, not just in Asia, but probably the world. You'll hear a lot about it from a lot of people, especially underwater photographers who flock to Anilao to take their pictures of macro subjects. Of course, with that influx came improved infrastructure and, of course, improving resorts and dive facilities. Anilao has been a well-protected marine environment since the 70s, so our reefs are pretty well protected and pretty rich. Now, as you can see here, this is a dive map of Anilao. Our resort is located right here, right smack in the middle. And around us, we have about 40 plus dive sites. Now, a lot of you have been seeing the macro photography that comes out of Anilao, but that's quite unfair because the world knows Anilao only as a macro destination. We do three main types of diving, and Cheryl has asked me today to talk about diving more than about the resort. So I've geared my presentation towards that. And most of the pictures that a lot of you have seen of the macro critters like the rhinopia scorpion fish or all those frog fish, those colorful nudibranchs have all been taken in only this area here from about Anilao Pier to Bubbles Point. So just these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. These 15 dive sites. And most photographers will stay to these 15 dive sites because this is where the pickings for macro critters are the best. But that being said, Anilao is so rich that there's so many types of diving that you can do. Of course, we do the macro photography diving, and around this area here, this is all beautiful reef. And I'll show you in here in a little bit. And this area is all beautiful reef. And also this area here, this is all really deep dives. This area here is another mix of beautiful reef, macro, and deep dives. All of these areas are within 30 minutes from our resort using one of our speedboats. Anyway, let's talk about the first type of diving. Macro diving in Anilao has been growing because of macro photography, and that's why at INR we like to keep our group sizes small. Usually you'll be diving 4 to a dive master or 2 your dive guide, and for more serious photographers they request for an extra dive guide, so the 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 ratio goes down to two dive guides to 1. Now the reason for that is to take photos like this. Well, that's pretty easy because that's a type of nudibranch. To take really good photos, the guide actually takes an active role in helping the shooter with the snoots and with the strobes and with positioning and all of that. And you get some photos look like this. A guide will actively help you get the photos. This is just a simple crab in an anemone, but as you can see, the quality of photography coming out of Anilao right now is really great. By the way, these pictures were taken by one of our local regulars, Miss Kelda Centeno, and she was nice enough to let me use her photos on a short notice. Here, in Anilao, there are lots of nudibranchs, different colors. We have all kinds. And actually, I'd like to also say that Anilao is also probably the nudibranch center of the Philippines. So almost every type of nudibranch that the Philippines has, we have it. We have it over here. In this photo, I think there's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doing I don't know what, but it's a pretty good, cool photo. Now this one, a hairy shrimp. This is an Anilao regular. And in the beginning, when we first started having photography groups come out, they would ask, I would ask them to give me a list of their top 10 creatures that they'd like to find, and almost every time our guides found it for them. And this is always on that list. This shrimp is probably at its biggest 1 centimeter from tail to head, and they're usually hopping around in the soft corals. As you can see, it makes for a beautiful picture only if you have the right macro lens. This really looks like a speck when you take a picture of it with just an ordinary point and shoot. But still, it's a very beautiful subject. And this one actually has eggs right here. This one's a dragon shrimp. It's pretty normal to find these in Anilao. They're just hanging out on the whip coral, usually in 2s or 3s. This is a good sized one. And as you can imagine, it's really hard to get a good photo of this if you weren't assisted by a guide. We don't, by the way, touch the animals. Well, in the beginning, the guides used to, but after a lot of foreign influx and education, they've learned not to touch the animals anymore. Of course, the rhinopias. Here we have a paddle flap rhinopias. We didn't know that this animal existed in Anilao till just recently, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And once we found one, then we started finding all kinds. We have yellow ones, purple ones, red ones. We have the paddle flap. We have the Wheaties. But usually these are found in deep waters, mostly like 25 meters and below. This one's one of my favorite. It's hairy frogfish. in this photo, she's probably yawning. And this took quite a while to get because you have to wait for the behavior to happen. But these are plentiful and in Anilao, and the guides are really keen to find them. So that's the first type of diving we do in Anilao, and that's what people know us for. But like I said, this area here, some beautiful, beautiful reefs that just nice to dive on, even without a camera. They're really rich with lots of antheas dancing in the current, and also turtles and even barracudas sometimes. Um, Let me share some pictures with you of that. Here we have some clownfish. There's a diver over there taking on a rooftop, on a reef top, I mean. Some turtles. These are always present, even just under the Aiyanar dock. We have these turtles present. We have both the green and the hawksbill, and they like just hang out. Sometimes you see them eating on sponges, and when they do that, they kind of get high. Not so sure, but they don't move, and then you can just swim up to them and take a picture this close. Of course, here the dancing antheas I talked about, and on this reef top, once you get in, you'll just be surrounded with these brightly colored fish swimming around you, and it makes for a really great experience, especially for beginner divers. I'd like to say that in Anilao, we have dives for all levels. We have dives for tech divers. We have dives for beginner open water divers. We have dives for photography, and it just depends on your guide. So you just need to talk to them, and they'll know the best place to take you and your group to. Here's some more pictures of the reef tops, and here she is, giant basket sponge, surrounded with all these antheas dancing in the current. Well, here's another reef top scene. Like I said, there's hundreds of thousands of these little fish in different colors, purples, oranges, and blues, and it makes for a really colorful picture if you can get it. I take pictures myself, and I can never really get a reef scene to look that alive. Maybe it's because I'm so big, and all those fish go hiding when I approach them. Here's just an ordinary clownfish, but if you look inside, he's got a parasite in his mouth, so that's a pretty cool photo. Here's some more pictures of clownfish. We have most types of clownfish. And just a nice reef scene from under the boat. Okay, so let's move on to the third type of diving that we do in Anilao, and probably one that a lot of you have been hearing about over the past 2 or 3 years. Is what we do is black water diving. So black water diving is usually done out here in this area here, and it's over deep water. And what generally happens is a crew goes out in the middle of the night, well, maybe around 6:30 p.m., and then they set some really bright lights. The lights can go from like 20,000 lumens to 26,000 lumens, and they have these lights floating in the water column. The first light is probably at 5 meters, and the bottom light is probably at 20 meters. And we leave that in the water for 20 minutes before the guests come out. And the reason for that is that what this does is it attracts all the plankton. And when the plankton comes in, everything else that eats the plankton follows. And what you get is a show of some really, really interesting critters. But they're all only about yay big. I have some samples here for you by a photographer who does black water with us all the time. probably a multi-awarded photographer by now, Wawi Kai. But what you can get from a Blackwater experience is pictures and encounters with some uh, some s- some animals like these ones. Here you see a diamond squid. These are all in their larval stages, though. So this picture was taken by a photographer named Dennis Corpus, and this squid is less than a centimeter in size. But when you see it blown up like this, the detail and the color is amazing. Now these are the type of photos that you'll expect to come out of Blackwater, especially after a few tries. My first try at Blackwater, all I took were pictures of dots in my screen. So I had a black screen and white dots. Nothing looked as intricate as this. But like I said earlier, a lot of our guides are keen and they know what photographers are looking for. So they've also learned how to pose, if you will, these subjects floating in the watercolor. This is another one by one of our regulars, Mr. Wawi Kai. It's just a squid actually in the water column. And this squid's probably only like a centimeter long or maybe a centimeter and a half. And so it's in its larval stage. Here we have an ordinary octopus, also by Mr. Wawi Kai. This is from the early days of Blackwater, where we find a lot of these though. But really, the Blackwater experience is a different experience. Imagine yourself trying to get your buoyancy in over 50 meters of water, and you're staying to like 20 meter depth, chasing something that's only a centimeter big. Here's another picture of a diamond squid. This one actually won a competition. This was taken in Anilao. It actually won Photographer of the Year for, I think, 2017. Here's one of the more famous subjects in Blackwater. It's a paper nautilus. And this one hasn't hung on to anything yet. Here's the same animal, and it's hanging on to a jellyfish. This photo also made the cover of Ocean Geographic magazine, and I think also National Geographic. One of the two, National Geographic or Ocean Geographic. These were all taken in Anilao. So let me now share a video with you on Blackwater. This is a ribbon fish. No one really knows, but when they're in their larval stage like this, they come up to the shallows, especially for the Blackwater dives. This is actually a really deep water fish. And let me share another one. One of my favorite videos actually is of this black blanket octopus, also on a Blackwater dive. They call the tail critter Dumbo. Also caught by Huawei. Okay. So, well, like I was saying, underwater photography has blown up in Anilao. And I guess that's because of mostly because of macro photography. And more critters are being found day after day, especially now that COVID happened. Most of us, the guides, have just been diving for ourselves. And so we've learned to look for other critters, and we've been finding some other species as the days go by. Of course, we have a lot to thank for all those foreign photographers and foreign divers because as we talk to more foreign photographers and foreign divers, you guys bring us new knowledge, and now dive guides are trained better than they used to be. And Anilao is fast becoming the second mecca to underwater photographers. I still like to think for macro photography, Lembe is number one. But last year we were supposed to have an Anilao versus Lembe. I actually challenged Lembe to a shootout, and we were supposed to do it in December of 2020, but with the wet pixel. But of course, that didn't happen due to COVID. So maybe we'll find out in 2022 which is actually better, Anilao or Lembe. Anyway, so that's it for the diving part of my presentation. Let's move on to the resort. And of course, we'd like to make sure that you guys are comfortable when you guys come to take your pictures or come to just have fun diving. So what we've done at INRs, we've built a resort, and it's actually a 24 room resort. And we have 3 room classes. We have 12 deluxe rooms. We have 4 suite rooms, and we have 8 casita rooms. Most of the rooms are decorated the same, and they all have a beautiful view of the ocean. We have an expansive kitchen with 3 chefs, and of course, we have a beautiful infinity pool with a wading pool and a 15-foot dive pool all in one. So you can see this part here. This is the deep part, and this is the shallow part. The dive center, we're the only dive center that uses speedboats. Of course, we know that photographers need to work on their cameras a lot, and they spend a lot of time working on the cameras. So we use a speedboat so we can get out and back from the dive sites as quickly as possible. We were also one of the first to build a camera room in Anilao, and our camera room can house 21 photographers with full SLR rigs. So here are a few pictures of the resort. Up here, this is what the resort looks like from the pool area. Also down here in the corner. And these are each of our rooms. This is actually one of our deluxe with a king in it. And this is our deluxe with 2 twins in it. And here is one of our suite rooms, which are actually bigger. They have 2 queen size beds, and as usual, a beautiful view of the ocean. So the Bella Suite has 2 queen size beds. It's a 35 square meter floor area. We have private balconies overlooking the ocean and a complete entertainment system. The differences between the rooms is mostly on size. The deluxe room is only 26 square meters, but you have a choice between a king size bed or 2 doubles. All rooms have private balconies overlooking the ocean and a complete entertainment system. Our casita rooms is actually the best value. The only problem is that it's furthest away from the dive center and it's on top of a hill. It also has 2 queen size beds and a 33 square meter floor area. Now, even if this room looks like a better deal, for older travelers, we don't suggest this room because I like to call the stairs in Anilao Cardiac Hill. So you have to climb Cardiac Hill to get to this casita rooms. So here are pictures of our pool, and we do a lot of training in the pool. And of course, it's nice to hang out by the pool after every diving day. For me, this is my pride and joy is the dive center. We probably built the best dive center in the Anilao area. We have about 1,000 square feet of dive center area. And with that, we have our nitrox membrane and about 300 tanks and probably the best rental equipment that money can buy. We only use Atomic Aquatics and Scuba Pro S600s for rental equipment. All this to give our guests the best possible experience underwater. By the way, if you book through our trusted partners like Deep Blue Adventures, Nitrox at Aiyanar is always free, and we actually encourage divers to use it. So I talked about our boats. Right now we have 6 boats. We have two of these regular type of bancas, Philippine bancas, because some people like the experience of riding on the bancas. They're generally bigger than all the other normal bancas around, and more space for photographers. It's actually a very comfortable boat to dive off, but albeit like if you looked at the map of Anilao, they're a little bit slow, so it takes longer to get to the dive site. We have 4 speedboats, and these are usually what we use to dive if no one really requests a banca. And we try to keep people on speedboats, so almost all of the dive sites are within 30 minutes of the resort. Of course, all bancas are stocked with coffee, tea, water, and dry towels. Even warm towels on cold days and cold towels on hot days. It says here fits 8 divers, but now with COVID, we only put 4 divers in a boat. We don't. Coast Guard mandates that only 4 divers be in a boat with 1 guide. Of course, all the boats have complete DAN kits, and thankfully, we've never been in an emergency situation. But that being said, my crew is trained and retrained almost every year for their emergency systems. So this is a camera room. It does have space for 21, including the center table. But full SLR setups, as you can see, we also have air hoses to dry your camera equipment off. All the tables are rubber topped and air conditioned to keep the moisture out. Okay, so that's it for my presentation, and thank you for listening. Hello?
Hi, we're here. Thank you, Marco. That was awesome. Those photos were absolutely stunning.
Oh.
Having people in the chat box just sharing how absolutely.
Hold on, can I share a video? One last video?
Please do.
I have one last video I forgot to share. I was supposed to end with this, but Hello?
Yeah, that was stunning. Absolutely stunning, Marco. The whole thing was just absolutely beautiful. All the imagery and shots and video was just gorgeous. I think a bunch of us here are ready to go.
That's what I want to hear.
For everybody, if there's anybody here that's new to our webinars and how they work, at this point we open up for new for questions. Because our hosts are often, as Marco is presenting from, a world away, it bogs down the video a lot, or the stream and connection, to have everybody just kind of come on with the videos and sound. But if you go in the chat box or the Q&A box, the chat box, you can actually, the best thing to do is put your hand up. There's a raise hand button, and we'll put you on directly with Marco. But if you can't find that raise hand button, you can also pop something in the chat box or the Q&A box. We'll put you on if your microphone is working direct with Marco. And if your microphone doesn't work or you're shy, then just type your question in and we will, or your comments, and we will go ahead and share those with Marco to address with you. So for anyone that has a question or a comment, please go ahead and pop that in. Carrie, someone is asking for the website. Could you type that in for me while I handle some of the other stuff? Marco, while we're waiting for anyone that's thinking about any questions, I think you've stunned everybody. Can you tell us a little bit about Topside? If you know what's going on? I know that our audience is primarily divers, but do you have anything you can talk about on Anilao Topside?
Actually, we offer some tours. I don't know if you guys heard about that volcano that erupted last year, Taal.
Yes. Yeah.
We actually offer tours to the crater of that volcano when it's not active, of course. Which is it's actually a nice one-day tour. We take about an hour drive to the foot of the volcano, and then you take a boat across to the volcano, because the volcano's inside a lake, and then you climb to the crater rim, and it's actually a really beautiful sight. Also on the same day, we offer a tour to an old Spanish town, which is also called Taal. It's one of the only towns in that area of the Philippines that still looks like a Spanish town. So you still have cobblestones, and you have a nice big cathedral, and the buildings are all made in this nice gray adobe. So that's one of the things you can do. We also have, for those of you that like to golf, we also do have two golf courses close to us. We can offer tours to there as well. So if you're staying 14 days, want to golf one day, we can arrange that. We have both the Malarayat Country Club as well as the Batangas Country Club close to us. So that can be an offer. We also offer tours to Gulugud Baboy. Of course, Gulugud Baboy is actually, it means the cage of the pigs. Gulugud Baboy is actually a mountain behind Aiyanar. So it's about a 45-minute hike from the bottom to the top. And it gives you a nice vista of the Anilao and the Mabini and the surrounding areas. Those off the top for my head are the tours that we can come up with. Of course, if anyone has any ideas, we'd also be happy to create the tour for them, even like a Manila City tour or something like that.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Brent Emery, you're on with your question.
Marco, thank you for getting up so early in the morning to talk with us. I appreciate it. Your Blackwater dives, how often do you offer those?
Those are on offer all the time. So if you come to us and you're gonna do 6 days of diving and you want to do Blackwater dives every day, we can arrange that for you. We used to actually do them 2 times a day, but then it screws with the schedule of the dive guides, and the dive guides actually asked us not to offer them 2 times a night, because then you have people coming back at like 2 in the morning, and it's actually a pretty dangerous dive if you ask me. But we can offer it every day if you ask for it.
Okay. It was something else, but I've lost it in my feeble mind. I can't remember what it was.
Well, we
Well,
can on, Brent, and then when you remember, just come on back in.
Yeah.
We'll keep your microphone unmuted.
Okay.
Randy Lou, you're on.
Hi, Marco. That was a great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Do you also dive Verde Island?
Yes, we do. Verde Island is about an hour and 15 minutes from the resort. And we do arrange trips to Verde Island as well. Our speedboats get there quite quickly, so we can do that. Those are special requests though.
Okay.
Because it depends on the weather. We have to cross the Verde Channel. So usually our dive shop manager decides whether it's safe to go or not. But if you go early in the morning, usually you can make it to Verde Island quite easily.
That's one of my most favorite places in the world.
Actually, mine too. It can get hairy though.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do that on request.
I love
So with all the great macro diving, and Anilau is much easier to get to than Indonesia. So
Yes,
possibly a week in Anilau and a week in Puerto Galera sounds really great right now.
Well, actually, we do that a lot. And Atlantis and Asia, El Galleon, they pick guests up from our pier. So from our pier to their pier straight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's
can
actually
definitely combo, Randy. I think a lot of our customers like that combo because it's very easy with that boat transfer to go between the two once you're out there.
Yeah. Actually, that's the beauty of Anilao is that we're actually a first stop destination. I mean, you land 2.5 hours. Within 3 hours, if you're really hard headed about it, you can be in the water.
So with that, Corey, I'm trying to unmute your mic because you had some questions about transfers and things like that. I'll see if I can get you unmuted, but right now it's not allowing me to. So just a little bit more, Corey had asked a little bit more about the transfers, air or land, how long it is, do you provide the service? We posted a special that Marco gave us just today, kind of breaking news. And it's a fantastic deal, $16.75 for a diver for a week, or there is also a 10-night package. It's on our website, front and center page. You've got a couple of months to book it, and it's good for travel through to sometime in 2022. I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head because it was brand new. And you don't have to put down a deposit until the Philippines is open. So that's something to consider. With a special like that, if we could go back to the transfer information, Marco, and then is the transfer service at an additional cost? And if so, what approximate cost is that?
Transfer service is extra. It's $270 for round trip van. So if you have 4 divers, then they just split the cost of that. But if you have 1 diver, then that 1 diver has to take the cost of $270 for round trip from the airport to Aiyanar to anywhere else they'd want to go.
And can you tell us a little bit about the transfer, how it works from Manila over to your resort as far as what's involved, vehicles and boats and things like that?
It's really simple. What I always tell people is first of all, we can pick up at any time you arrive. If you arrive at 1 a.m., we can pick you up then. If you arrive at 3 a.m., we gladly pick you up then. And then you just jump in the van, and the van takes you directly to resort. And then you won't have to deal with any of this horrible Manila traffic that you always hear about, because right as you exit the airport, you get on a skyway, and then the skyway goes straight to the highway, and then straight on to Anilao. So it's pretty simple. The transfer is really simple. No boats, no trains, no planes.
Corey, I hope that answered your question. I never did get you unmuted, but if you needed any more details than that, either pop your questions in the Q&A box or the chat box, and I'll be glad to follow up with those with Marco, or of course you can shoot us an email. Larry
Cheryl?
King was on, but he had to jump on a phone call. But he did ask, what are the coronavirus restrictions right now? Also, he wants to know a better season to travel, and is there different diving of the three that you mentioned by season?
Okay. First of all, like the best season to come would be probably from November till June, and actually, all the diving is mostly all the same throughout. It's just that we really like I could sell you July and August, but that's monsoon season, and then you're gonna have to sit out a lot of days. So I don't do that. But the best season to dive is just um, from November till June. That's it. And on other types of diving, most of the divings are all around. All around is the same. What will be different would be the size of the animals. Like in some like in early January and December, the like nudibranchs can be smaller, and by probably like May they're already like full grown. So it's just the size of the animal, but the presence of the animals, they're there most of the time. And then another one thing that changes is depending on the water temperature, animals can be at different depths. So like let's say rhinopias, when it's hot towards June, May and June would be deeper, would be like in 25 to 30 meters of water. But in January through March, that same animal can be found like in shallower waters, like 14, 15 meters, because the water temperature is cold during these times. Oh, that's another thing. The swing of the water temperature in Anilao is pretty big. So starting December through March, you can have waters as cold as well. I'm sure it's not cold for you guys, but it's freezing for us. We can have water temperatures dropped about 23, 24 degrees. And then in May and June, the water can be as hot as like 29 to 31 degrees. So that's quite a spread for
Yes, it
me. Like when it's 24 degrees, I have 3 layers on.
Me too.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And then could you talk a little bit? I know that you don't know much right now, but just corona restrictions or anything you know right now or heard that's going on. I know it's a very difficult question.
Well, actually, I'm also on the team of the DOT that's trying to open up the travel bubbles, as they call them, the travel bubbles. And the first bubble that they might open would be Singapore, which they plan to open this March. Um, but what I'm hearing is that maybe by June or July, second half of this year, will be open to most countries, especially countries that have gotten the vaccine.
Okay.
So, but other than that, there's no official word, no official announcements. So that's also why I decided to not take anyone's deposits yet.
No, that's very nice. That's very
Yeah.
nice. All right. It looks like all our questions have slowed down. If there's anybody here with any other questions, this is your last chance before we let Marco get another cup of coffee and start his day.
I have a question.
So if you have any other questions, please let me know. If you think of anything, by the way, later on, you can always shoot us an email, info@deepblueadventures.com, or give us a call or chat with us on Facebook, and we'll get you some information. As I said, we popped that special up today. That was like a breaking news special on our website, so you can find that there to take a look at. We tend to post most of our deals as a 7-night, just so you can compare apples to apples. It's a basic start, but it does mention a 10-night on there too, but we can definitely tailor it if you want more or less nights, depending on what you're looking for. And of course, get into upgraded rooms and all that good stuff.
Marco, sorry, Cheryl. Marco, how many people can fit in a transfer van?
If they're gonna be full divers and full camera gear, I suggest only 5.
Okay,
5 at the most.
Okay, I think that Carrie went mute again, so I think that answered it. Brandy, we left you unmuted. Did you ever think of your question? Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was Brent. Brent, did you ever think of your question, or actually, I think he popped off. Okay, all right. Well, I think we've answered everybody's questions, and Marco, you've certainly given us something to dream about. Again, the presentation was absolutely stunning with really beautiful pictures, and please pass our comments along to those photographers and thank them for sharing that with us. They were absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you. Well, everybody, we will be back on March 9th for our next Week and Still Dream. So we will see you then. We will post the link in the next week on our webpage and our Facebook page and by email if you're on our emailing list. But our next meeting will be March 9th. In the meantime, just a couple of comments in there. People saying thank you, outstanding presentation, looks like a nice place. So lots of compliments there in the chat box, Marco, on the resort and on the diving and the presentation in general.
Thank you so much, guys.
We really, really appreciate your time this evening, Marco, and look forward to hopefully seeing you soon in person.